Welcome to the Credit Concept Podcast. I am your host, Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and in today's video, we are going to be covering some credit hacks you do not want to miss. So if you are interested in getting $100,000 or more in funding, you want to make sure to watch this entire podcast because we are giving you all of the credit hacks that you're going to need to get approved. Let's get started. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are talking about credit hacks and how to get you approved for at least $100,000 or more in funding. And on today's episode, we have a very special guest that I want to introduce you all to. Her name is Marshall, and I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself to you guys. She is super amazing. And I want you to make sure to leave some comments and show some love in the comments and make sure to smash that like button. Hey, Marshall.
Hey, it's Marshall here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm ready to get into it. We are credit giants, we're credit warriors. Let's get these people the information that they came here for. No fluff, no fillers, straight facts. So let's go.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know how I tell you guys, if you knew better, you would do better. And I give you the information that you need to know, not what you want to hear. Because if credit was really that easy, then everyone would have exceptional credit and everyone would be able to get the funding that we need in a perfect world. And yeah, as we all know, this world that we live in is not so perfect. So we put together an entire presentation for you guys so you can learn all of the credit hacks that you need to know in order to get $100,000 in funding. Let's get started. So we're going to be covering the top hacks to get you guys $100,000 or more in funding. And this is for the personal credit, guys. So if you are looking to get $100,000 or more in funding with your personal credit, make sure to watch this entire video. First thing that we're going to be talking about is decoding credit scores. Now, a lot of people have a misconception. They think they have great credit because they see a 700 credit score. Well, that's simply just not the truth. And in today's video, we're going to be covering all of the data points that you're going to need in order to have a strong credit profile. We're going to be breaking down all of the data points so you can understand exactly what you need to do in order to get to the next level. We're going to be talking about credit scores versus data points. Now, many of you may have already experienced this at some point in your life. You're like, hey, I've got a 700 credit score. I'm good. I know I can go and get approved for anything. And guess what? You try to go buy a car and they deny you. You try to go get a credit card. They deny you. Why? Because your data points are not strong enough in order for you to qualify. So we're going to be covering all of that today because even though your credit score might look decent, you still have to worry about your data points and the information that's actually listed on your credit report. Because many of you might realize when you go to the bank and you ask them, hey, what credit score do I need to have in order to get approved for this credit card or for an auto loan? They're never going to tell you, oh, you have to have a 650 or a 700 because it's not based on a credit score. It's based on data points and comparable credit and your history to show that you are able to make your on-time payments back to the creditors as agreed. That's the most important thing when it comes to credit. Before we get started, I want you guys to make sure that you have liked, comment below, let me know if you found value from the video, and last but not least, share this information with a friend, family member, neighbor, anyone who is struggling with credit needs to watch these videos. They are free. There is no excuse why you should have below a 700 credit score. You should be working on that. So make sure to leave your stories below. Let me know if you have any questions. We're always happy to help. Now, Marshall, I'm going to go ahead and let you get started with the FICO versus Vantage, because this is probably one of the most common questions that I get is, hey, everywhere I look, my credit score is different.
That's true. So, I mean, different companies, different organizations, they do. Some use FICO, some use Vantage. If you need an example, technically, where would I get my FICO score from? FICO score is usually myfico.com, or FICO score is usually my score IQ. But if you're looking for Vantage, Vantage is usually covered by Credit Karma, or Vantage is usually covered by, was it Smart Credit and stuff like that? So what
Yep.
I like to tell people is, know both. Know both
Mm-hmm.
and know where you stand. So if you are going after something specific, you can ask them, hey, are you guys using FICO? Are you guys using Vantage? So you can know where you stand. And of course, we can help people who have those questions on where they stand to come on over. So if you have questions, you can always reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to make sure you understand your FICO versus your Vantage, yours specifically, and how to leverage both of them.
Absolutely. That is so true. And if you are interested in signing up to get your FICO scores, I've left a link below in the description for the My FICO app. It is an app that you can download on your phone, and it's going to give you all of the different FICO variations. There are 16 different FICO variations and growing. Okay. FICO 10 just dropped. No banks are really using it at this time, but most banks are going to be using a FICO 8 or a FICO 9 to approve you for their credit products. But once you take a deep dive into FICO, you're going to realize there are so many different FICO variations. There's credit cards, there's autos, there's mortgages. Every time I work with someone who's buying a home, they always tell me, well, every time the mortgage company pulls my credit, it's always so much lower. Well, that's because a lot of mortgage companies, they use either a FICO 2 or a FICO 5. And the great thing about the My FICO app is it has all of the different FICO variations. So if you are a little low in one FICO model, you can work on your credit data points to bring your credit score up overall. So I'm a huge fan of the My FICO. I use it myself. I probably have showed you guys this in the past, but I'm just going to show you guys so you can see. And if you are working with a credit coach or credit repair person and they're not willing to share what their credit scores are, you're probably working with the wrong person, because a real professional is going to be willing to show you their scores. And I hope you guys can see that. I'll leave a screenshot in the video, but that's what the My FICO app looks like. And you'll see the FICO 8 score popping up, because that's probably the most common FICO that you're going to look at. And then as far as the Vantage, there's Vantage 1.0 to 4.0. And really the majority of providers that are going to be approving you with a Vantage, it's like a property management company. If you're looking to rent a building, rent a home, rent an apartment, property management companies use the Vantage system because it is a cheaper way to acquire your credit score. And what I've noticed is a lot of property management companies are usually pulling like a Vantage 3.0 or 4.0 from, say, Experian, right? So it's very important for you to still understand what those scores are, because if you are going to be planning to, rent a building, rent a home, rent out a building for your business, you need to know what your Vantage scores are, because generally they're going to want at least a 700 Vantage score in order to approve you. So there are different variations and different algorithms that each model kind of looks after. But the bottom line is you don't need to know every little detail. You just need to know the concept behind it and what we need to do as consumers to move the needle forward when we're working on our credit. And a lot of people just don't quite understand that. So we're going to be breaking it all down for you guys today.
I always have this running joke like, know your status, know what's going on with your file at all times.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you have to be consistent, guys. You have to be consistent. So many people, they'll try something once and say it doesn't work. Well, if I went on a diet for a week or a month, chances are I might see very little results. But if I'm not consistent, I'm not going to see long-term results. So I might lose a little weight, but if then I quit, then I'm going to gain it all back. And that's the same thing with credit. You really have to be invested and committed, because if it was really that easy, if it was really so simple, then everyone would have perfect credit. And that's just simply not the real world that we live in, folks. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you guys know I keep it real with you, because again, we're giving you the information that you need to know, not what you want to hear, because we're not trying to sell you on anything. What we're trying to do is educate you on financial wellness, because this credit stuff is not going anywhere. It's been around for over 100 years, and it's just getting more and more difficult because a lot of jobs are starting to pull credit when you apply. So if you have a bad credit score, but you have a great education, you might, lose that opportunity to a candidate who has better credit, because that speaks volume about one's character. And a lot of companies, especially if it's, more of like a financial role, they want to deal with people who are financially responsible. Okay.
And just to piggyback off what you said, Nicole, especially in comparison to weight, it is. I always say it's like a scale. As you're growing through your credit journey, you may see the scale go up and the scale go down. It doesn't mean that you're bad or you did something wrong. If you utilize your credit cards and stuff like that, sometimes your scores will go down. But think of it as a Thanksgiving meal. You may start off 150 pounds at Thanksgiving, blow up to 170 something, and then after you use the bathroom or whatever, without being too graphic, you're back down to your normal weight. So don't give up or be discouraged because you see your scores fluctuate. Just make sure you're around a good coach or good peers that can be able to support you and help you understand what's going on.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, because even with my own credit journey, I've seen my credit go up and down, up and down. I mean,
Me
if you
too.
look at my Credit Karma, it's crazy. Like right now, it's so ugly. Like I just showed you guys what my scores were in the My FICO app, and they're all over 750. But if I look at my Credit Karma, my TransUnion is at 722 and Equifax is at 746. So it's a huge difference. And usually it's the other way around, like your Vantage score is a lot higher. But since I know my data points, I'm focused on, getting as high as I can go. But let me just show you guys a quick example of, what it really looks like. I mean, look at that. Up, down. So that's very common for you to, go up and down, especially when you are using your credit cards, which, we'll get into that. But we want to just talk about some of the most common myths and misconceptions about credit scores, because there's a lot of people out there that teach credit. There's a lot of people out there that are not attorneys, that are not, licensed professionals like attorney or a CPA, that give information and I guess you could say training on credit. Now, our training is different because we give you information based on real life situations that we've dealt with ourselves or that we've helped a number of clients with. Me and Marshall have been working together now for over a year, and Marshall has helped thousands and thousands of people. I have helped thousands of people. We see credit reports every day, day in and day out. So I will be the first one to tell you guys that there are a lot of people out there that will try to sell you on credit, and they make it sound really good and really easy. And believe me, if it was that easy, everyone would just have it. And it takes time. So you guys really have to just be patient and find the right person to work with. But, another thing that you guys have to realize, you going from person to person to person, trying to, get help is not helping the situation.
It's
You have to just
counterproductive.
stick with one person, get help, be committed, commit yourself for a year.
Yes.
Okay. 90 days is just not long enough, and we'll get into a little bit why later on in the video. But, you know, a lot of people advertise, oh, get $100,000 in 90 days. That's the biggest crock of crap that I've ever heard in my life. Why? Because banks need to see financial history for you in order to feel comfortable lending to you. They need to see comparable credit. They need to see that you're able to manage your credit. If you're not even able to manage a $500 credit card, what makes you think the bank is just going to hand over $50,000 for you to, you know, not manage that? So you have to really understand that credit is all about progression, and you have to take steps. Okay. And each step, you're getting a little bit closer to the goal. And, you know, I was one of those people that could not get approved for more than a $500 credit card, $1,000 credit card. I was stuck in those low limit cards for years until I finally understood credit. Okay. So, Marshall, I'll let you take over this myths and misconceptions. We talk about this a lot, and sometimes we just have to laugh at some of these people on social media and YouTube that are not lawyers, that you know, are giving out all of this information. By the way, we are not lawyers. We do not give legal advice. This is for informational purposes only, based on real life situations from ourselves or our clients. So just so you guys know, but we are here to help.
Well, the one thing I would say that's most important is having the credit education and also being patient, because the
Yeah.
reality is you do hear, and I work with plenty of clients that they do get results in 30 days. They do get
Mm-hmm.
results in 60 and 90 days
Yeah.
that they can really be happy with. But
Yeah.
the reality is sometimes it's a longer journey for someone else. For example, I love working with couples. I work with couples all the time, and some of them may have similar debts on their credit report because they've had some joint accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the wife may clean up 2 times faster, scores are already at 700, and the husband may still be in the 500s. It doesn't mean that the repair doesn't work. It just means that you have to handle those files individually. And
Yeah.
sometimes people think that credit repair is just a one-stop shop. Throw it all in the pot and you have gumbo. No, there's open late payments, there's charge off, there's fresh repos, there's so many different things. So you want to get with somebody who can really take a look at your report and be able to guide you, but somebody who's going to tell you the truth. And I always say, mean what you say, just don't say it mean. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to do my best to try to prevent you from running into a burning house when it does. Sometimes it feels good. Oh, I got approved for a $10,000 card. I got approved for a $5,000 card. But there's other stuff that's pressing that you should not have got that card yet. If you would
Right.
have cleaned yourself up more, that $10,000 card could have been a 20,000. But you know,
Mm-hmm.
some people, they see the score go up and they just think it's wow. That's like, yes, I lost 50 pounds. Let me hit the buffet. How is
Yeah.
that realistic? It's just not. So I know I bring some comedy to it because, of course, these are serious topics. Your financial situation, it's really important, but we definitely want to bring some laughter and fun to it so it's digestible, but also tell you the truth that some people are in denial. They're getting denied because they're in denial. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
yes, congratulations, you got an LLC, but your LLC doesn't guarantee you the money. It doesn't. And one thing too, I love trade lines. They can be so beneficial to people in certain circumstances, but you can't fill your whole profile up with trade lines and think you are just out here doing $1 million deals. That's like
Mm-mm.
going to a party, you got on somebody's hair, somebody's eyelashes, somebody's shirt, somebody's pants, and it's just like at the end of the day, you got to turn all that in. So let's have good credit for real and not just for a cute Instagram flick.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done. I won't
Oh
do
man.
it.
I mean, I was like totally reminiscing, like, oh man, there's just so much that I could touch on with that. But the bottom line is you really have to be dedicated to credit, and you have to dedicate yourself for at least a year. Because here's the thing, when banks look at you, they want to see that you're able to make your payments on time. It's so important for you to understand, if you make a late payment, it can drop your credit score up to 100 points. So it's really important for you to set up auto pay on every credit account that is reporting to your credit for the minimum amount due. You can always pay more, That's exactly what I do with my credit cards. I will, set it up on auto pay for the minimum, but chances are by the time the minimum or by the time that auto pay rolls around, my account is a zero balance anyways, because I've already paid it off.
Absolutely.
And that's where a lot of people allow themselves to get in trouble, is because they over leverage their credit, and it's new credit. So say you get $1,000 credit card and you go put $1,000 on it. Now that credit card is 100% maxed out. So that is going to drop your credit score probably up to 100 points as well. So those two things are really important. It's just those on-time payments and not over leveraging your credit cards, the revolving lines of credit. And a lot of people might not know what that means. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Revolving lines of credit are a credit line that is going to change based on your spending habits. So credit cards and lines of credit, you'll get maybe a $10,000 limit. And then whatever you use of that $10,000 limit, that's your credit usage. We want to keep our credit usage below 15%. Okay. We have to understand credit cards and lines of credit are used for decorational purposes only. They're not really meant to be used and abused. Okay. We want to kind of use them as trophies on our credit report, but not have them all maxed out and looking crazy. Because let me
Absolutely.
tell you, I get a lot of people that come to me that need funding right now. They need it right now. But guess what? Their credit report just says that they probably can't handle any more funding because all of their credit cards are maxed out and it just looks bad. So if you look like you need credit, you're never going to get it. It's always best to seek credit when your cards are at zero and you don't really need it. So one of the most common myths that I get a lot is about this whole late payment thing. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say, what do they say about the late payments, Marshall?
Late payments, to me, I always make the analogy, late payments are like getting shot and then
Mm,
somebody standing over your shot, your gun
oh,
wound, and stabbing you in it. Late
right in my
payments,
heart too. Right in my
late
heart.
payments are so like bad. Like literally, I say this transparently. There's a lot of things that we can clean up. There
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things that you wouldn't even imagine. We're like Olivia Pope on a credit profile. We can
Yeah.
get stuff handled. But when you come with late payments are just proof or confirmation that you're not keeping up with your agreements, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and we get it. Oh, this happened and that happened because life does happen. But there's 75 million people, I'm just making up a number, that did experience COVID or did experience their mother, their father passing away, God forbid, last year, 2 years and stuff before, and their credit still stayed intact. So
Mm-hmm.
those things may be really important and, life-changing scenarios for you and your loved ones, but to the banks, unfortunately, they don't care. They
Mm-mm.
don't. Now, are there circumstances where they will reverse them? Yeah. I mean, we're professionals. We know how to make things happen. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality is just to go in with late payments because most people think, and I know that I was guilty of it when I was, more immature in credit and younger. You think, oh, this late payment, okay, great. I'll catch up. I'll pay the balance off in 2 more months and different things like that. That late payment is still deadly. Even
It
before
is.
COVID, one late payment will punch you in the face consistently
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years.
Yep.
Certain lenders now are going back 5 years, six
Yep.
years because they want to make sure they can trust you with making the payments. That's
Yep.
the only reason. The only reason why you're getting a credit card is because the banks want your interest and they want you to pay them on time.
Yep.
Outside of that, that's it. You may want a romantic relationship on the grounds that somebody's going to be respectful to you and commit to you. If
Yeah.
they don't do those things, you don't want the relationship. So why
Right.
would you think the bank wants to have a relationship with you or go back and help you remove those late payments when you didn't pay them? And I say that like seriousness with a smile on my face, but that's the most detrimental. Honestly, I rather
Mm-hmm.
work on a repo that's been charged off for 2 years or three
Yeah.
years and get it handled than have to explain and work with somebody to go back. It's a back and forth game. And guess
Yeah.
what? They could say no. You could
Yep.
have a great score now that you did everything else, cleaned it up, built you up, and they're still saying no about something that happened 3 years ago. And you're like, I'm a changed person. But guess what? The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
The proof is in the pudding. I used to be judgmental too. I used to say, oh no, it's so wrong to judge people based off their credit. Patterns show you a lot about people, and we
Yes.
just have to be frank about it. Patterns show a lot. So it's not to beat you up, it's not to say give up, throw in the towel. It's like we got to stop the bleeding. And the
Mm-hmm.
bleeding is the late payments. Those
Yes.
are things that F you up and you don't even realize it. You're
Yep.
thinking, and then you have 30 days to make it. Even if you get paid, I haven't worked a 9 to 5 in years. So I do understand that when you're, making just two checks and different things like that, if you have to break it up, I'm telling you to pay on time. But even if you had to be late, I'd rather you be 5 days late or 6 days late and eat the late fee than be 31 days late and it's on your credit.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very much a myth
yeah.
that late payments are illegal to report to your credit report.
Oh,
There
thank
is
you.
nothing illegal about a bank reporting a late payment to your credit report unless it never happened. Of course,
Yeah,
that would be illegal. But if
of course.
you did make a late payment and the bank then reported that you were over 30 days past the due date, because say you're 5 days past the due date, no big deal. Okay, you pay the minimum, but you're also going to get that late fee, which I don't even know how much late fees are nowadays, but
Yeah,
I'm sure they're at least like $50 or something like that because they want to really sting you where it hurts, right?
right.
And they won't report you to the credit bureaus until you are past 30 days from the due date. On the business side, there is no grace period. Okay. If you are late, you are late. If you are a day late, you are late. So if you plan to start business credit, it's very detrimental for you to start practicing paying on time. And
Yes.
I tell people this and they might think that I'm crazy. A lot of people pay rent. Their rent is not reported to their credit report. Be late on your rent before you are on account to your credit, because that late payment will stay on your credit report for 7 years. It will haunt you and it will keep you down
Yeah.
over one late payment. And guess what? Late payments are the hardest thing to get removed, especially on open accounts. So
Yes.
if you do have a late payment and you've gone through the goodwill process where you've asked the bank to provide you with a goodwill adjustment and update it to paid as agreed, they're like, no, this is valid. We won't do that. You've gone back and forth and you're like, well, what do I do? I heard from someone on YouTube that late payments are illegal. Unfortunately, not everyone on YouTube is going to give you the honest truth. I've had a lot of people that have joined different mentorships where, they're talking about late payments are illegal. And guess what? They still have late payments on their credit report. They cannot get their late payments removed.
Yeah.
So once they're reported, they are a booger to get off, and you'd be better off trying to get the entire account removed. And even then, there's no guarantee that you can get the entire account deleted from the credit report. So when you do get a late payment, the bounce back is going to be extremely slow. So that's why I say the bounce back is fast. People will tell you, oh, if you mess up, you can bounce back quick. No, not with credit. Credit is over 100 years old. It is not from this new, 5 second to 30-second microwavable world that we live in. It is something that takes time, consistency, patience. You really have to be in a committed relationship with your finances in order for you to be able to flourish. And, credit can make you or it can break you. It's a very fine line. But once you understand the concept
Yes.
behind it all, it can make you a millionaire. Okay.
See?
Credit
Yes.
has helped me create my business, buy equipment, everything that I needed. I would not have been able to do. I would not have been able to fund my business without credit. So it's very
We know it.
powerful, but yet you have to understand this is not free money. There are a lot of things that you have to make sure that you're doing. It's okay if you have a high balance, at some point, because that can always be changed. But what can't be changed is a late payment. Okay. Maybe the bank will forgive you if you have one late payment, but if you have multiple late payments and your history as a consumer has just shown late payments every few months or so,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that you guys are clear on that. And again, if you have questions or you've had some sort of experience with late payments, put it down in the comments, share it with us, because sharing is caring, guys. The second thing that I really want to reiterate to everyone is, people have this misconception that when they get credit repair, that everything will just go away.
Oh,
It's
good
just going to
point.
go away. Credit repair is going to take care of it. I paid for credit repair, so I'm good. But guess what? People that pay for credit repair, they don't know what they're paying for. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what the credit repair even entails because they're not educated. They're just thinking, well, I'm getting credit repair from, say, Lexington Law or, one of these creditrepair.com. So I'm good. That is so far from the truth. You have to understand what's going on. You have to be in control. You can't depend on companies or anyone for that matter to fix all of your bad history. You have to be a part of the process. And that's why me and Marshall are educating you guys, because I'll tell you what, if you want someone to help you and coach you through the process, you need to get with us, because our program is going to help walk you through it. Marshall is going to be able to do all of your letters. And we don't offer credit repair. We offer a credit coaching program that is going to literally change your life, but you have to be committed. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
have to
thing,
be
is
willing.
you
Yep.
have to be committed.
You have to be willing and open, because the
Yeah.
reality is, even with, cancer, and not to even make a joke of cancer at all, but if you go through one round of chemo or you go through one round of radiation and stuff like that, it doesn't mean that all the cancer's gone. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it definitely takes cycles. And do you
Yes.
have those circumstances where somebody's a one and done? That's great. That's amazing. That's a
Mm-hmm.
miracle, but that's not the norm. And that's the
Right.
same thing with credit. Your credit health is just important as your physical health. I mean, of
It
course,
really
we know
is.
our physical health is important too, but they're both priorities. You want to take care of it, because no matter where you go, guess what? No matter where you go, it's going to be there. And now, if anything, is the best time to start working on those negative items, because
Yeah.
come 3, 4, 5 years, when AI does its thing, you're going to be applying for a credit card and they're going to be taking your picture and running your pupil for you applying for it. So when you
Yep.
go to try to dispute it, it ain't yours and this, that, and the other, they're going to say, oh, wow, because here you go at 64 Johnson Street applying at 4:45 p.m. Eastern. You sure that's not
Mm-hmm.
yours? Here's your electronic signature. So, like, no matter how smart you think you are, the system is already in place and you
Yeah.
can't outsmart it. They're going to know.
Yeah.
They're going to know. I
Yeah.
can speak with somebody on the phone and know what's going on with their credit just by the conversation in the field. You think a documented system based on science is not going to know if you're playing games and stuff? And I mean, sometimes we cut corners, but now once you know the information, you know. When you
Yeah.
know better, just do better. Do
Right.
better.
That's why we give you this information, because if you knew better, you could do better. And the thing about all of this is, if you fumble the bag, like, that was just a test. That's if they give you a $25,000 credit card and you fumble it, which, I will be the first one to tell you that I've had a lot of clients that I've helped get them funding. I've helped get them high limit credit cards. And guess what? They come back a year later and, like, I got everything maxed out. I stopped paying it. It's like, what? Like, that is, you basically just shot yourself in the foot, because if you got 25,000 and you show your ability to manage that properly, pay on time, then they're just going to give you more and more and more. So a lot of people really just, they have this misconception like, oh, I'll just, you know, run it up and not pay it back. Well, that's the worst thing that you can do for yourself,
Sure.
because you're still in that financial mindset that you need to change. Okay. And
Yes.
number one is, it's getting harder and harder to run from your debt, especially for those of you that are trying to run from credit card debt that you paid for out of your own bank account.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stop
It's a
trying
way
to
system.
one up the system and
Yes.
just learn how to play the game, so
Yes.
that way you can elevate and you don't have to try to trick the system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, everything you said was just chef's kiss. Like it's You can't escape it. You can't
Mm-mm.
escape it. And also, too, it's just like if you think about it. Now, I understand, like literally, when we first got out of school, high school, college, you think like, yes, let me get these cards. One thing is just not free money. It's
Mm-mm.
just not, it has to be paid back. But think about it. If
Mm-hmm.
you burnt bridges with specific banks, and although it may be 4 or 5 years, 10 years, 7 years, all these statute of limitations and stuff, but let me tell you something, banks, they do. They have a group chat on that ass. They're talking about you.
Yeah.
So they're going to say, okay, oh, Keandra, oh, did you know what she did in 2022? Did
Yep.
you let me tell you what she did in 2025?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what she did in 2027. And it ain't even here yet. Let me
Yeah.
tell you what she's going to do because we project her to do this because all these late payments here did this. So we project her. And even with cars and houses, I tell
Yeah.
people you will be put in a house and in a car faster than a committed relationship. And they'll say, okay, great. This person will hold on to this car for about a year. We can get some payments out of this person, double payments based off that interest rate being so high. And
Yeah.
then we can give this car to somebody else who's ready to take on the debt, like literally. And I'm not saying that to scare you or be facetious. And if you made late payments or have a lot of negative items, okay, now you know how much you weigh. Do you want to stay that weight? Do you want to gain weight or do you want to lose weight? Which one you want? Once you figure out your options and if we fit into them, come on over and let us
Yeah.
really have some real conversation about what to do. Because one thing about me, I love helping people with custom stuff
Yep.
because your cousin could have got approved for a Navy Federal and you figure like, why didn't I? Why didn't they do this and why do it? It's different. It's different. You
Yep.
can have the same kids, same mom and dad, and different personalities, and all credit cards have different personalities as well.
Yeah.
So you want to
Yep.
understand what you're applying for. Sometimes we're just throwing a dart at the wall. And hopefully it sticks. No, know what you're applying for, but
Yeah.
also have the history ready for them to say. And guess what? If you get a no, so what? The first time I applied for USAA, my feelings was hurt. My scores were great. Everything was good. I have $25,000 cards, $15,000 cards. They told me no, girl. I was like, no. How could you tell me no? I had a fit. But it comes down to data points and
Yeah.
expectations. I was not applying for the card that was in my class. Then I had to apply again and I got approved. But you got to know what weight class you're in when it comes to the card you're applying for. Some
Right.
people should be applying for a blue card. I'm exaggerating versus a black card. You got to
Right.
start where you are, but you
Yeah.
want to clean up your credit so you can get a yes versus all these inquiries.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's, one of the data points that we're going to cover is when you are reckless with your credit, it's not going to help you in the long run. And that's why people really need to understand the build, break, build method that I teach. And I have that inside of my credit masterclass. So I'll leave all of the links below for that and you can watch that process. But basically, in short, what build, break, build means is we're going to be doing some credit stacking to build some credit. And then we're going to take a break from anywhere from 6 to 12 months, and we're not going to be able to apply for anything. Okay. The only thing that you would be able to get is any sort of like pledge loan, secured loan, if you wanted to do a credit builder loan, because those don't require a hard inquiry. So it's a great way for you to build credit. But if you don't need it, we're not going to get it because every new account that you add brings down your overall history. And what we're trying to achieve here is history. And unfortunately, we just can't. We can't change that. It just takes time.
yeah,
And that's one thing that's just not on some people's side is time. But unfortunately, this whole credit thing does take time. And I'm probably one of the only people that are going to tell you straight up, me and Marshall, there's other people out there as well, but we're some of the few and far in between that are not trying to sell you on anything,
yeah,
but actually tell you the real, like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
yeah,
So, I just wanted to kind of, review that. And then the last thing is a lot of people have the misconception that fixing their credit is not affordable. Well, fixing your credit is going to take one of two things. It's either going to take some investment of your time or an investment of money if you don't have the time. One of those two investments is going to need to come. And sometimes both of those things, because say, for example, you're like, look, I can do everything on my own, but I just need a little bit of guidance. Well, hey, you can book a call. I've got mini calls that are 15 minutes and they're only $35. So you can talk with me, get a clear, personalized, one-on-one consultation where we can go over everything. And then if you needed something more in depth, then we can talk about that at that time as well. But at least you can just book a call when you're needed. That's when you need it. So it's not going to cost you a whole lot. Even if you're like, hey, I just need to check in once every month. $35 and you can do everything else on your own. You could buy one of my courses, or you can join the community where you get access to all of this. And we have our weekly group calls to kind of keep you on track, because that's a very low investment from your pockets. But you're going to supplement that with the time, because you're going to need to put in the work. Any type of one result that you want to get in life, especially when it comes to financial wellness and health, you really have to be dedicated and you have to understand the best roadmap for you, because every DNA is different. As far as the DNA on the credit report, the DNA that we have, everyone is different. So it's best for you to get a personalized plan that is from a person that's not trying to sell you on anything. I don't necessarily want you to buy from me. I want you to be successful. I want you to get results. We want you to get results. That's our goal. That's what I strive for. That's what gets me excited, is seeing those results. And sometimes it goes up and down, but ultimately it's heading up. So it is totally affordable to fix your credit. A lot of the shit that people talk about, and excuse my language, but a lot of the stuff that people talk about just might not be necessary. Okay. You have to figure out what's going to be a good blueprint to fit your needs, to fit your budget, to fit your lifestyle. Okay. And that doesn't look the same for everyone. So, if you do need help, I've left the link below for you to book a call with me, and I will leave Marcelle's information in the description below so you can check her out, send her an email if you need help as well.
If you don't pay for it on the back end, you're still going to pay for it on the front end.
Yep.
So it's something and that's even with your health. If you don't, you have to invest into it. You do.
Yeah.
It's
not free, whether you're not paying out of pocket, you're paying with time. And sometimes people just don't have the time. So
or even know how to compute and understand the information. Sometimes
it's so
there
hard.
are good letters out there. There really are. But there's sometimes you can purchase letters and then you don't have the rebuttal because your circumstance was different than somebody else's circumstance in the letters that they put. So even if you do want to write your own letters, it's always good to check in with you and say, hey, look, this is what I was thinking. Am I missing something from here? Or help me understand what's going to be the start that move the bureaus to move forward, because sometimes the sob story is not going to do it. It's not Make-A-Wish Foundation, so they're not going to like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Like they don't care about none of that. But what is going to protect you is the FCRA law. So what I have put together is in the course, in the credit course, and when we talk about our community, all of the courses are included in the community. So inside the course, there is an FCRA ebook that has some of the most common, USC codes, 15 USC codes that you can use inside of your dispute letters to let them know, hey, you are violating the consumer law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You're violating the law, and here is how you're violating it. And to, correct this, I demand that you delete this account number, this account name. So, you just want to try to keep it simple, but yet include the law
Yeah.
inside of your letters, because let's just be honest, everything is not identity theft. And
Of course
you
not.
know, I've worked with a lot of people, and I've also worked with, a lot of people that have worked for other big name credit repair companies. And, normally when somebody gets credit repair, that's what
That's the
happens.
norm. Yeah.